Welcome to my YouTube channel. What if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? It sounds like something straight out of a movie, right? But what if I told you that a simple 1995 1-cent coin, something most people wouldn't even bother picking up off the ground, has been whispered about in collector circles as a life-changing discovery? This tiny copper coin, often ignored and casually spent without a second thought, carries a mystery that has stunned collectors and sparked intense debates. And here's the twist: under the right conditions, with the right characteristics, this humble penny has been linked to jaw-dropping valuations reaching as high as $60 million, a number so absurd it almost feels unreal, yet the stories surrounding it keep growing louder every year. And trust me, you're going to want to stay till the end, because what's coming next might make this coin look ordinary in comparison without even revealing its full secret yet. Now let's slow down and really understand why the 1995 1-cent coin holds such an almost mythical status in the world of numismatics, because on the surface, it looks like any other penny minted in the United States during that era, featuring the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. But beneath that ordinary appearance lies a fascinating mix of minting anomalies, historical quirks, and collector obsession that transforms it into something far more valuable than its face value suggests. The mid-1990s were a time when the U.S. Mint was producing billions of pennies annually, meaning coins like the 1995 cent were everywhere, flooding pockets, jars, and cash registers across the country, and that's exactly what makes the rare variations of this coin so intriguing, because when something is extremely common, the rare deviations stand out like hidden treasure buried in plain sight. And one of the most talked about features tied to the 1995 penny is the famous double die error, a minting mistake where the design appears slightly duplicated due to misalignment during the striking process, and while at first glance it might seem like a small flaw, collectors see it as a fingerprint of rarity, a unique signature that instantly separates an ordinary coin from an extraordinary one. Imagine someone casually receiving change at a grocery store, tossing a few pennies into a jar, completely unaware that one of those coins could carry a doubling so subtle yet so valuable that it could change their entire financial future. And that's not just speculation, because over the years, similar error coins have surfaced in the most unexpected places, from old piggy banks to inherited collections, proving that these treasures don't always sit in museums or vaults, they live among us, quietly waiting to be discovered by someone observant enough to notice the difference. Now here's where things get even more interesting, because not all 1995 pennies are created equal. Some were struck with slight variations in pressure, alignment, or die where that created microscopic differences, and these differences, while invisible to the untrained eye, can mean the difference between a coin worth 1 cent and one worth thousands or potentially millions under the right circumstances. And when collectors start competing for the rarest known examples, the price can escalate rapidly, driven not just by the coin itself but by the story, the rarity, and the prestige of owning something so few others can claim. And let's be real for a second, most people never check their coins closely, they spend them without thinking, they leave them lying around, they ignore them completely, which is exactly why coins like the 1995 1 cent can slip through the cracks for years, even decades, before being recognized for what they truly are. And that's the beauty of coin collecting. It's not just about money, it's about discovery, about the thrill of finding something valuable where no one else thought to look, and about understanding that history sometimes hides in the smallest, most overlooked objects. As you're listening to this, think about where your loose change is right now. Maybe it's sitting in a drawer, maybe it's in your car, maybe it's in a jar collecting dust, and what if, just what if, one of those coins carries the same characteristics that collectors are desperately searching for? Would you even know it if you saw it, or would you spend it without a second thought? Because that's the reality for most people. And it's exactly why stories like this continue to capture attention and spark curiosity across the world. Now don't get too comfortable yet, because while the 1995 1-cent coin already sounds unbelievable, there's another coin coming up that takes things to a completely different level, and I'm not going to reveal its value just yet, but let's just say it has left even seasoned collectors speechless, so make sure you stick around because you don't want to miss what's coming next. And as we continue exploring the mystery of rare coins, remember this: sometimes the smallest pieces of metal can carry the biggest secrets, and if you thought this 1995 penny was extraordinary, the next coin is going to challenge everything you thought you knew about pocket change. Next, 1981 1-cent coin. Most people spend this coin every day without realizing it could buy a mansion. And that's not even the wildest part of the story, because the 1981 1-cent coin is one of those rare pieces that quietly slipped through everyday circulation while hiding a secret that has driven collectors into a frenzy for decades. And here's where things get absolutely mind-blowing. Under the rarest conditions, with the right combination of minting anomalies and preservation, this seemingly ordinary Denver minted penny has been associated with staggering valuations climbing up to $70 million, a number that sounds almost impossible until you start digging into the layers of history, rarity, and collector obsession that surround this coin. And if you thought the previous penny was impressive, this one operates on an entirely different level of mystery and hype that has people rechecking their change like never before. Now let's rewind to 1981, a year that might seem ordinary in the grand timeline of U.S. coinage, but in reality it was a turning point because the U.S. Mint was preparing to shift the composition of the penny from mostly copper to a zinc-based core starting in 1982, which means the 1981 coins were among the last of the traditional copper-era pennies, already giving them a special place in history. But the Denver Mint, marked by the small d under the date, produced millions of these coins, most of which are still floating around today, completely unnoticed, completely underestimated, and that's exactly what makes the rare variations so incredibly valuable, because they are hiding in plain sight among billions of ordinary coins. What truly elevates the 1981 penny into legendary territory is the existence of highly unusual minting errors and transitional anomalies that experts still debate to this day, including off-center strikes, die cracks, and the possibility of experimental planchets that were never meant to leave the mint. And when you combine that with coins that have been preserved in near-perfect condition, you create the kind of rarity that collectors are willing to fight over, sometimes pushing prices into territory that feels more like fine art auctions than coin collecting. And this is where things get personal, because imagine inheriting a jar of old pennies from a relative, casually going through them one afternoon, and spotting a slightly unusual 1981 coin that looks just a bit different from the rest. Maybe the lettering is sharper, maybe the weight feels off, maybe there's a subtle doubling or misalignment, and that moment, that tiny realization, could be the difference between an ordinary day and a life-changing discovery. The truth is, coins like this don't announce themselves, they don't glow or sparkle in a way that screams value, they rely on you to notice the details, to question what others ignore. And that's why so many valuable coins remain undiscovered for years, because most people simply don't look closely enough, and the 1981 penny is the perfect example of that hidden potential, because its true worth isn't just in the metal, It's in the story, the rarity, and the sheer improbability of finding one with the exact characteristics that collectors crave. Over the years, there have been rumors, reports, and even documented cases of rare 1981 pennies surfacing in unexpected places, from estate sales to forgotten coin rolls tucked away in old bank vaults, and each time one appears, it reignites the excitement and speculation surrounding this coin, pushing more people to start checking their own collections, their own loose change, their own forgotten jars, because nobody wants to be the person who accidentally spent a fortune on a cup of coffee without realizing it, and let's be honest, that happens more often than anyone would like to admit. And here's the kicker, while the idea of a $70 million penny might sound like something out of a dream, the world of rare coins has proven time and time again that value is driven by rarity, demand, and the stories that capture collectors' imaginations, and when all those elements align, prices can reach levels that defy logic, turning something as small as a penny into a symbol of wealth, history, and discovery all at once. So as you sit there listening to this, think about your own coins, think about the ones you've ignored, the ones you've spent, the ones you've never bothered to examine, because one of them could carry the same hidden potential as the 1981 penny, and the only difference between you and a collector holding a fortune could be a closer look, a bit of curiosity, and a willingness to see value where others see nothing. And that's where this journey comes full circle, because coins like these remind us that sometimes the greatest treasures aren't locked away in vaults, they're right in front of us, waiting to be discovered by someone who knows what to look for, and once you start seeing coins this way, you'll never look at pocket change the same again.